This video was brought to you by Squarespace. Please stay tuned until the end of the video for a word from our sponsor. Hello everyone, my name is Emily. So being a YouTuber, I receive my fair share of hate comments, and I actually consider myself kind of lucky because I'm part of the YouTube art community, which I feel is like the softest YouTube community out there. It's like winning the lottery, except I chose it, I chose to do this, so it is literally nothing like winning the lottery. Let's just say I am very fortunate and thankful that I have been able to be successful in this community, because 90% of the comments are kind or helpful or a mixture of the two. And when I receive comments that are less than kind and not at all constructive, I usually just ignore them, or if they are particularly abusive, if you know what I mean, I will delete them. But I received a comment literally at this point years Uh-oh, baby's crying. But I received a comment that was literally years ago at this point on a video that I have no idea if said video is still on my channel or not. In fact, I don't even remember what the video was. But in that video, I must have said that I am a professional artist. And whenever I say that I am a professional artist, I make sure to clarify, to me, it means that I am able to make a living off of my artwork. You don't agree? You don't agree. We've got one from the peanut gallery, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Are you hungry? See, even baby Wiggy disagrees with my definition of what a professional is. There is a percentage of people out there who think a professional should be someone who is at the top of their game. Their skills should be above most other people in their field. Now, before I get to whether I think either definition is right or wrong, let me give you the gist of the comment I received all those years ago. It is very frustrating when you, Emily Artful, and other similar YouTubers call themselves professional artists when your work is of mediocre quality at best. Because your art is of mediocre quality or less, you should not be posting your work for others to see and potentially emulate. You need to go take some classes and learn how to draw a circle for Christ's sake. An even shorter way to summarize his comment would be something like, your art is bad and you should feel bad, now get the fuck off my internet, you mangy bitch. The comment actually made me annoyed and frustrated and sad, but not so much for myself, but for the general population of artists posting on the internet. The comment was insinuating that if you are not a highly trained and skilled artist and you post on the internet, you are doing a disservice to other artists who view your work, because in the event that they copy your, say, incorrect anatomy, you are then indirectly hindering their ability to improve their skills as an artist. Oh, my baby's sneezing. Oh, you made the cutest face. Now, I'm not going to deny that yes, some artists, typically very beginner artists, mind you, will copy other artists' potentially incorrect work, and with consistent practice using said incorrect work, the beginner may be learning how to draw in a structurally unsound way, thus developing some bad habits that are hard to unlearn. Yes, that is a thing. Yes, that does happen, especially nowadays when we have access to work from artists from all around the world with the click of a button. I'm even dating myself by saying the click of a button. I really should be saying with the tap of a finger, but you get the point. Let me date myself even further by bringing us all the way back when anime started to become really popular in the Western world, specifically in North America. I was a pre-teen when things like Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, and then eventually Pokemon became really big. I know from experience that myself and my other artist friends were really inspired by anime and manga. So much so that we started to draw pretty much exclusively in that style, and forgive me for being controversial, but the anime of that time was not exactly known for accurately depicting what real, living, breathing humans looked like. For Christ's sake, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is that? And don't get me started on One Piece. I mean, oh my god, are they okay? Sis, your waist is snatched. There's no denying it. Clear as day, but where are your organs? My point is that a lot of really great artists in my age group specifically started out drawing janky-eyed anime boys with chins that could cut and lay brick. Yes, there is merit in doing things right the first time and taking the correct path, but spoiler alert, humans, We're not so great at doing that. But the beautiful thing about messing up is that you learn from your mistakes. And one of the best ways to learn from your mistakes is constructive criticism and input from your peers. And here is where I take issue with the argument that you should not display your work for public viewing if you are not the best. Well, let me ask you something. How do you think you become the best, or even the good? It all starts with constructive criticism, whether it be internally from yourself, or in this case, from your peers and your viewers. And you take that constructive criticism and you apply it to your work, whether that be by practicing anatomy, learning about color theory, composition, etc., etc. I'm a big believer in the 3 Ps: practice, perseverance, and pride. And no, I don't mean so much pride that your head is about to explode from the gaseous ego expanding inside of it. I mean, you should be proud of the things that you create. Every piece of art that you create is a healthy expression of something internal. There is no right or wrong when we refer to art strictly as an expression of emotion. If there was, it would be a complete invalidation of your emotions and your ability to express them. That's like me drawing a pretty pink flower, slapping a smiley face on it and saying it's a representation of my anger, and then somebody bursts into my studio and says, "That's illegal! I'm the feelings police and you can't do that! Watch me, bitch!" So clearly I take issue with the commenter's original implication of don't post till you're the best, from not only an academic viewpoint, but also from a creative viewpoint. But let me go back to the beginning, when the commenter suggested that I am not a true professional because my art is of mediocre quality. Let me start off by saying that I actually agree that my art is of mediocre quality. It's not super special or unique in any way, and I myself as an artist am not that highly skilled. Hence why I don't do a lot of tutorials, especially about drawing, because I don't want to mislead people into thinking I know it all what I'm talking about. There are a few topics that I know well enough that I feel somewhat comfortable explaining on a very surface level, and even so I always issue a disclaimer making sure people know, hey, this is how I personally do this thing. It doesn't mean it's the right way or the only way. This is just how I personally do it. Google's definition of professional is relating to or connected with a profession, worthy of or appropriate to a professional person, competent, skillful, or assured. And when we look up the definition of profession, it says a paid occupation, especially one that involves prolonged training and a formal qualification. These definitions are vague enough that they can be interpreted in completely different ways. And they're vague enough that both of the ideas originally at play here could be viable. I would never say it's wrong to hold the belief that a professional should be someone who is highly skilled in their field of work. Trust me, you don't want to have an unskilled plumber come to unclog your toilet. That's just a bad idea. But I'm also saying the different fields of work have different interpretations of skill. Typically in more creative lines of work, skill is a little bit more up to interpretation, but there still is kind of a hard, fast idea of what is classically skillful. So take singing for instance. You want to be able to carry a tune, a pretty melody. You want to have some sort of body to your voice. You want it to sound effervescent and beautiful. And then there's Yoko Ono. Not my personal cup of tea, honestly. But you know what? Clearly, she has worked a very long time in the industry. She knows the ins and outs, so should she not be considered a professional in some sense? Yes, her voice is abstract, and yes, it is an acquired taste, and yes, she was the catalyst in the downfall of one of history's greatest rock bands. But we can't deny that 1, she has put in the time, whether it be from the singing, the writing, the rehearsals, and 2, she really loves and believes in what she does, and 3, she very obviously makes a living off of what she does. What if I use Bjork as an example? And I know I'm saying it wrong, but this is just how it's kind of digested to the masses. What if I use Bjork as an example? To me, she's got this beautiful, childlike, angelic voice that is kind of weird and kind of pitchy and screamy and different at times, but I and many others are incredibly affected by her work. To a lot of her admirers, of course she's a professional musician, but to a lot of other popular musician, she definitely isn't. She's a musician of celebrity, which to a lot of musicians and people is totally alien to being a real quote-unquote professional musician. And those interpretations absolutely exist within traditional art. To some, realism and hyper-realism is the only quote-unquote professional art, and the farther you stray from that line, the less you are viewed as a professional, regardless if you make your full living off of your work. Let's really quick use Mr. Doodle as an example. His work is very recognizable. He is huge on all social media platforms. Even if you're not familiar with his body of work, I'm sure you can make a hot guess as to what kind of art he creates. It may not be the kind of work that you consider highly skilled in the traditional sense, but if you watch any of his Instagram videos, he comes up with most of these doodles and designs pretty much on demand. Being able to fit all of those abstract shapes and figures into a confined space is a skill itself. Clearly, he's worked very hard to hone said skill, and now he has an enormous audience to show for all that hard work and discipline. But if you notice, all of the examples I've given actually play into both sides of the argument here. Mr. Doodle, Bjork, Yoko Ono all have been able to make a living off of their skills as creatives, but they have also spent many years training, honing, and refining these said skills. But if your idea of what a professional is not what they represent, then it doesn't matter how long they've spent training their skills, and it's not going to matter how many more years they put into refining those skills. If it doesn't match up with what your definition of a professional is, then they will never be a professional in your eyes, right? My goal isn't to say which side is right or wrong, because it doesn't exist in this sense. Like I said before, the definition is just vague enough that it lends itself to both sides. I'm just here to provide a sort of alternative view to an otherwise really complicated discussion. I'm sure most of you know how I feel about art in general, and if you're new here, here's my take. Art is what you make of it. Art is expression. It's a way to tell a story, and it comes out differently for every person. To put a strict label on anything revolving around art is to deny art itself. That doesn't mean, however, that you shouldn't apply yourself and work to be better, but that's true in all facets of life. But that also means if you choose to take your work less seriously, you shouldn't be burnt at the stake for your choice. I always like to refer to this quote from Little Miss Sunshine. Do what you love and f*** the rest. Keep posting, bitches. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to stay out of trouble. See you guys later. This video was brought to you by Squarespace. Join the growing community of creators who use Squarespace to help create websites for their businesses, stores, portfolios, and more. Squarespace is a super user-friendly website builder that has all the tools you'll need to make a stunning and unique website. Not only do they provide tons of beautiful layout designs to choose from, they are highly customizable and are all available for mobile viewing. If you run an online store, Squarespace has you covered with e-commerce templates to make checking out a secure and easy process for your customers. You'll also have access to inventory management tools to make keeping up with your sales a breeze. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to www.squarespace.com/EmilyArtful to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Make your own website today with Squarespace.